مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم.
الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه وأهل بيته ومن اتبع سنته أجمعين. فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عبس وتولى أن جاءه الأعمى وما يدريك لعله يزكى أو يذكر فتنفعه الذكرى أما من استغنى فأنت له تصدى وما عليك ألا يزكى وأما من جاءك يسعى وهو يخشى فأنت عنه تلهى كلا إنها تذكرة فمن شاء ذكر في صحف مكرمة مرفوعة مطهرة بأيدي صفرة كرام بررة قتل الإنسان ما أكفر. صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم والعاقبة للمتقين ونحن على ذلك لمن الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. So Surah Abasa, it is known as Surah Abasa. Abasa means a expression of a frown, a expression of a displeasure. Like a scholar described, like when we have our eyebrows, right there, the central crease, when it frowns like this, in Arabic it's called abas, or some have an expression of dislike or displeasure. So the narration goes about this particular chapter when it was revealed that there was one of the Prophet's wife, Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha's cousin, means Pupi's son. So his dad's sister's son, or her dad's sister's son. Prophet's wife, first wife Khadija radiallahu ta'ala. His name was Abdullah ibn Maktoum, and he was a blind person. And he came one time, Prophet was in the middle of trying to convince these chiefs of the tribes. And it was difficult to get them to listen to Prophet. And Prophet was eager to convey the message to them about Allah and himself being a messenger of God, and wanted them to listen what Islam is all about. So finally they were, half-heartedly, or say that unconvincingly, agreed to listen to Prophet. And while they were listening, sometimes, when you do not want to listen, often we see when people are not really serious about anything, and whenever something disruption happens, they say, okay, then we'll see you later, goodbye. And this was the attitude. So while he was very deeply into talking to them and trying to convince them, and they were still in the terms of negotiations or understanding or listening or talking to each other, means Muslims, Prophet, and the Meccan chiefs. There are certain narration says among them was Abu Lahab, which was his own uncle, Abu Jahl, that was a cousin uncle, and then there was Utbah, Shayba, and all these Umayyah bin Khalaf. These were the tribal chiefs, and they were the biggest troublemaker against Islam and Prophet. So while he was deeply engaged with these conversations, this blind person named Abdullah ibn Maktoum, who happened to be cousin of his wife, came in, and because being a blind, he was kind of a little anxious and he was a little bit apprehensive, and he goes, Arshidni ya Muhammad, Arshidni ya Muhammad. Another report says that he says, Allimni ma allama rabbuk, give me the knowledge of what your Lord have given to you, and guide me. Arshidni means give me the righteous knowledge so that I could be more believing in the God. So some says he was seeking Islam, some says he was already a Muslim. Some narrations, because of the conversation, they are trying to conclude that he was a blind man who was just anxious, who was walking without permission into a discussion. Because he was blind, he did not know Prophet when he was busy with the other, and he was kind of so much loud that he was totally negligent of their other times, like a social respect of the, when people are engaged in discussion, you just don't barge into a gathering. So it is expected that he was a blind man, but he was pure in his intention. So while he kept talking and he keeps saying without paying attention, because the other were listening and Prophet was talking, so he was seeking attention of Prophet. So Prophet kind of turned to the other side, means look at him, didn't like his whatever he did, and then he turned to those Quraysh to make sure that they are still paying attention to him. There are other scholars who interpreted is that when he entered, the Meccan chiefs, they already were unhappy with the companions of Prophet, because they said at times, oh, if Muhammad, we would like to come to visit you or listen to you, but then these slaves and these poor and destitute people and who are low socioeconomic status hanging out with you, we don't want to sit among them. You know, there was arrogance of being rich and powerful. So this is what they did, and they turned and frowned. This is, some scholar says, this is them, not Prophet. So again, regardless whatever situation happened, but if we read the translation, it goes this way. As every surah, this is the reason of revelation of the surah, is that this blind man came to Prophet and he was not, he did not enter into the gathering properly, and the people in the gathering did not appreciate the way he was. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed this surah upon Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Abasa wa tawalla means frown and turn away. It does not mean exactly Prophet did it, maybe the other people, but the Sunni scholar says this is the Prophet who did it. And ja'ahul ama, when a blind man came to you. وَمَا يُدْرِيكَ لَعَلَّهُ يَزَّكَّى, and he wanted that he may have been guided for what he was asking for. So I will read it in complete English so people understand, so that disruption will not happen. He frowned and turned away when there came to him a blind man, Abdullah ibn Maktoum, who came to the Prophet and interrupted his conversation with the chiefs of Mecca. How could you tell, O Muhammad, he might have sought to purify himself or become reminded and might have benefited from our reminder. As for him who thinks himself is without need, to whom you are giving all your attention, you will not be held responsible if he would not purify himself. Yet to him who came to you with zeal on his own and with fear of Allah in his heart, you gave no heed. Nay, it should not be. Surely this is but an admonition. Let him who won't pay attention to it. It is written in scrolls which are honored, exalted, purified, and which remain in the hands of scribes who are noble and virtuous. This is the angels as referred in here. So what is, some scholars says Prophet was never the kind of person which it is being translated as some scholars did. They say it was the people who were there. And others says that Prophet was trying to convince them so that the bigger group of people will embrace Islam. So in any way, it reflects a few points here. In the sight of Allah, in the eyes of Allah, we don't say physical eyes, it means eyesight of Allah. A blind, poor, weak person who has no socioeconomic status, who has no place in community, is more beloved and honored in the eyes of sight of Allah than the person who is rich and everything they have, if they are not a believer. And also those who are seekers of God. So there are people among us who are born Muslim. Born Muslim is everybody. Those who are born in Muslim families and those who are not born in Muslim families. When they seek Allah, Allah surely brings them and guide them to the way, and they are more beloved in the sight of Allah than the person who is rejectionary and who thinks I'm self-sufficient. So there is a value to it, and even Prophet has been also kind of noticed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not like the way it happened. So this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, that you're not accountable for who does not believe. You will not be responsible for them. Actually, this message is the message from Allah, and the holder, the one who bring this message to you, are the angels who are honorable and who are very trustworthy. So and the one who will benefit from it, you should give them this pay more attention to those people than the one who do not care, and you're killing yourself or you're getting yourself aggravated about these people should embrace Islam. It's not your responsibility. It is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to deal with that. وَمَا عَلَيْكَ أَلَّا يَزَّكَّى وَمَنْ جَاءَهُ يَسْعَى. The one who comes to you running. I mean, I can see that, there are a lot of people who are out there seeking and running for something, but the one who came running to seek God and God's closeness and love and believe in God, it is more beloved to Allah. And there is a narration of Prophet, peace be upon him, that in the sight of Allah, a person who is a faithful is more honorable than entire creation. For the sign. And somebody asked the sanctity of Kaaba. He said the honor of a believer, of an honorable person, the believer, is more than the honor of Kaaba in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these are the most honorable scriptures which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have written in the what we call the Lawh Mahfuz, the scribe scale, where everything is written, the destiny is written. And this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted you to understand. This is not something worthless that people are rejecting and you are begging them to accept Islam. So then the next verse is, which is starting, woe to disbelieving man, how ungrateful is he, out of what Allah has created him, means the sperm and the ovum, out of a semen drop. Allah created him and then fashioned him in due proportions and make the way easy for him, then causes him to die and stows him in a grave. You see, now the whole stages are, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's conversation is turning toward the person who is rejectionary of the God. And then what is their destiny? They are created from nothing, they grow up and made the destiny is written, and then they end up dying and being put in the grave. Then he will surely begin him back to life when he pleases. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows when the end of the world will happen and he will be resurrecting mankind. By no means has he fulfilled the duty that Allah has assigned him. Let men reflect on the food he eats. Now there is again a reference coming to reflection on, look at simply at your food. We pour down rain in abundance. As we know, the water cycle is reminded, the evaporation happened from the oceanic or the river, from the sunlight, and then condensation of the cloud happened, then rainfall come in, and that purifies the water. And that is only 3% of the world water is pure, drinkable. Otherwise, 97% water is not drinkable for mankind. And cleaves the soil under, and when rain comes in, it creates its pores under the earth. And this is how the farmer do that. They till the ground to make the seed to be planted. So we pour down rainwater in abundance and cleaves the soil as under. We begin forth grain, grapes and vegetables, olives and dates, lush gardens, fruits and herbage, and means of sustenance for you and your cattle. So there is a reference, and this conversation is turning towards the disbelievers, that these are the very powerful words if one could comprehend in Arabic. As it says, قُتِلَ الْإِنسَانُ مَا أَكْفَرَ, death to be the man for what he denied. من أي شيء خلقه, what the thing he's created with. من نطفة خلقة فقدرها, and he created of a drop of a semen, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the destiny for him. ثم السبيل يسر, and then he made the destiny and decided the life easy for him. ثم أماته فأخبره, and then him brought him to the stage where he dies and buried into the grave. ثم إذا شاء أنشره, and he will resurrect him when he will. كلا لما يقضي أمره, and he did not live up to the command, what God has commanded him. فَلْيُنْظُرُ الْإِنسَانُ إِلَىٰ طَعَامِهِ. Mankind does not look at the food which has been provided to them or made for them. أَنَّ صَبَبْنَا الْمَاءَ صَبًّا. And then we pour down the rain water, and then which is heavy rainfall comes in. ثُمَّ شَقَقْنَا الْأَرْضَ شَقًّا. And then we poured up the holes on the ground, which cause that break and rupture it, or tear down the skin or the cover of the earth. فَأَنبَتْنَا فِيهَا حَبًّا. And then we brought out the sprouting leaves from the seed from underground. وَعَنَبًا وَقَضْبًا. And grapes and the vegetables. وَزَيْتُونًا وَنَخْلًا. And the olives and the dates. وَحَدَائِقَ غُلْبًا. And we create lushful gardens. وَفَاكِهَةً وَأَبًّا. And dry fruits and all the combination of the pickles and the forms of food you like to eat. مَتَاعًا لَكُمْ. This is all for you. وَلِأَنْعَامِكُمْ. And for your cattle, what they live with. فَإِذَا جَاءَتِ الصَّاخَّةُ. And will come to them a unbelievable sound, which will be, trumpet will be blown. This is the second trumpet will be blown. As we know, the first trumpet, when it will be blown, all creation will die. Then second trumpet will be blown when everybody will bring back to life. يَوْمَ يَفِرُّ الْمَرْءُ مِنْ أَخِيهِ. يَفِرُّ الْمَرْءُ مِنْ أَخِيهِ. That is the day when a man will run away from his brother. وَأُمِّهِ وَأَبِيهِ. From his mother and from his father. وَصَاحِبَتِهِ وَبَنِيهِ. And from his spouse or wife and children who they love so much. لِكُلِّ أَمْرٍ مِّنْهُمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ شَأْنٌ يُغْنِيهِ. And everybody will be in the state of a calamity and self-concern and worry. They will not care for anybody else. So this is said that those people today in the world which we are willing to live and die for them we do everything. On the day of judgment, these people will turn away. Nafsi, nafsi. Nafsi, nafsi will be the word. So, and they will not even care when somebody will ask, you're my mother, you're my father. They will say, no, go deal with your business. I'm already too much worried. That day, few faces will be brightened. And they will be smiling, and they will be laughing, and they will be celebrative. And that day, some faces will be darkened, and they will be overwhelmed and grieved. And they will be completely, saddened. As you know, somebody who's in the extreme state of darkened face, what we call أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْكَفَرَةُ الْفَجْرَةُ. And these are the faces of those who are denier and those who are evildoers. This is something very important. They are wicked in their behavior. So wickedness is towards the people and kufr is towards the God. So there are two acts in a person who deny God. He is unjust, or that she is unjust or mean to the people and mankind. So this is a very, very powerful message, which if we could comprehend in our own understanding. So there are few things there is talk about hereafter. You see, after every conversation you see in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always compare the person who will be of success, the person who will be of failure. In the hereafter more so, and the world maybe a test exam place where a person has to live the trial and tribulation of the life and has certain passions, certain loves, certain emotions. And in the hereafter, all this will be totally different. Even though we will understand and realize the relation, we will all be recognized by our mothers. And the day of judgment, when this surah was revealed, somebody asked, some of the companion asked that people will be resurrected from their grave naked and undressed. So al-Mu'mineen Aisha asked, it is later on hadith, and another companion asked that will we be walking undressed and naked without any cover on us? And Prophet says it will be such a devastating situation that nobody will be able to look at other person. They will be looking down in their feet, and there will be very, very hard situation in that time. So we are being reminded that you are not just living in this world for this world. We are living in this world for this world, as well as preparing for the next world, and which begins from the grave. And as we have talked before, when a person is put on the grave, a beautiful person comes to this person, and a person says, "Who are you?" And that beautiful person says, "I am the Quran you used to read. I am here your companion, and I will be here with you till the day of judgment. And this is how that salah comes to him, and these fasting comes to him, and they are the protector. And especially two chapters are being like a shield, Surah Baqarah and Surah Al Imran, which we'll be reading later on. So those are the two surahs will be coming. So we as a Muslim are being reminded as that we are not just living for ourselves, me, my, and I. We live for us, ours, and all. So this is how we, us, and ours. This is how we should think, even though sometimes we find the relations are very difficult in the world to deal with, but we have to endure. We are commanded by Prophet, you should not break the relations, enduring the relationship with the hardship. The command is of the Prophet and Allah, when a relative is rude to you, you should be kind to them. Because if somebody is kind to us, we can always be easily kind to them. We often have to be in the relationship to give them and set up example. You see, a very funny thing is, our Prophet never rejected anybody. And he set the example for that people. When they were harsh to him, he was kind to them. When they were rejected him, he would go to them. He would still be asking them to believe. And he was never foul-mouthed, what you call the envious or jealous or backbiting or slandering. Anytime people did wrong to him, he just basically endured it. And it is the most difficult part. I could see that somebody attacked you personally once, twice, third time, you say enough is enough, now shut up. The Prophet never even fought back with them. And this has been said once. A man was insulting Abu Bakr, the companion of Prophet, and Prophet was quiet and smiled. And Abu Bakr got a little offended. So he thought that he misunderstood the Prophet's smile. Then he started talking back and he started cursing this person back. When he did that, Prophet became quiet and his facial expressions become more serious. So when this thing was finished, Abu Bakr asked, Ya Rasulullah, why did you smile when this man was insulting me and cursing me, and now you become serious when I try to talk back? Prophet says, when you were quietly listening to this person's wrong, what he did to you, angels from God were answering on your behalf. But when you start saying back, angels stop. So there's a message in it that if we are quiet, physically we are listening, taking the beating, yet angels are there who are speaking on our behalf, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knowing it. So this concept of unseen creature called angel, the goodness and hereafter, and this is what the grave and what it is in the grave. As we know, last week we made dua for our cousin Adil Bhai, and today inshallah we'll be making dua for Aisha, the sister of Tariq's wife, Yasmin Bhabi. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us, may give us guidance and give us the concept of these fruits and sustenance. We can see the example that who provides us with this, and who makes our whole body internal system adopt it, digest it, process it, give us the nutritional value, and how God is creating life from the seed, which is rain coming, seed underground, and how this seed finds its way up into the sunlight. As we know, chlorophyll formation, or what we call photosynthesis, is the process. But who is doing it? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, I am the doer of everything. And you have to believe in Allah, and that is all one thing Allah demands, that do not worship anything with me. That is a shirk with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I will stop with this because there's much more I can talk about, but I'm sure everybody is intelligent enough to understand. There are portions of this surah in which there are 3 sections it is divided into, and there are a total of 42 verses. We read about it, and it has a commandment that the seeker of the guidance should be given preference in covering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, conveying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's message. As we see, our brother Kevin is joining us, and he's been all along with us. May Allah bless him and his family and open our hearts for Islam and for Allah's love. Man is reminded of the recognize his creator, and the day of judgment, man will be so concerned about himself or herself that he or she will not ever even care about his own mother, father, brother, and children. So all these relations and the day of judgment will be not helpful. Not they will be broken. Please do not misunderstand. The relation here will remain relation in the hereafter. just to know a spouse, a person who is married to a person, and the day of judgment, when Allah will give, the end of the thing, and He will ask for a person, what else do you want? And man will not be ready for it. So he will say, Ya Allah, I have enough. Allah says, would you like to have your wife? And the man will say, well, I lived in the world and she was not very nice to me all the time. He would be thinking. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask the angel to raise the curtain, and the wife will come out, and she will be so beautiful that the man will become greedy and will say, Lord, I lived with her all this life. I'll take her now. Because she would be so beautiful, so pretty, and so attractive that he will forget everything. So this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make it things for us. So we should be kind to our spouses and be caring for that. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for us. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. I will stop it here, and if any question, comment, any suggestion, any correction, please advise. And then inshallah we will proceed with the dua. Or because I can do the Surah Qadr, which is a very interesting and very attractive surah, unless you want to delay till the next Sunday. Please advise.